Hello and welcome to the GMBN Tech Show. This week we are joined by none other than Mr. Martyn Ashton. Welcome to the show.
Hello mate, how's it going? It's a new bike bonanza this week with the brand new Canyon Sender. Long awaited.
Long awaited indeed, plus some featherweight tech from Mondraker.
Lovely, and of course we've got all the normal stuff on the tech show. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So, first up in the news this week, we have, like you said, the long-awaited release of the Canyon Sender CFR. So this is Canyon's top-line downhill bike, and it certainly looks the part. It is a mullet in the small and medium, but a full 29 for the large and extra light sizes. Full carbon with aluminium links and 200mm of travel. Martyn, what do you think of this bike?
I really love it. I love the mullet option. I love that. It's really great. Full 29 as well. So you've got everything you need there to be on point with the modern trends. I mean, I love the bike anyway, as you know. So it's looking good.
Yeah, they do look really sharp. I think, I know we talk about this a lot, but I think this is where mullet gets really exciting for me, because it's when we see the production versions. They're not the things that people have strung together with what they had left over in the garage. It's like, it's the real refined things. And I think for people that do have, shorter legs or whatever reason, it does make a lot of sense. And but yeah, so it's got a 63-degree head angle, and the reach proportions are particularly healthy. So 435 for a small, then 460 for a medium, 485 for a large, which being my size, I always consider the most important, and then 510 for an extra large. But that's not where it stops, because it's also got plus or 8mm via headset cups, and there's also got a 10mm adjustment in the chainstays. Because if you were, it's kind of interesting, isn't it, how we do get all these bikes which we know to be incredible pieces of equipment, but some of them don't come with that much adjustment, especially on the downhill side of things, for your top. And it's interesting because we are all proportioned differently. What do you think about that?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's a make or break thing, or?
I love the adjustability of it, I've got to be honest. I mean, I'd probably go, just because of my particular bucket bike setup, I'd be on the 510 large, and I can already I'm already thinking, where would I put these numbers? Where would I start? And I like the fact that I could ride it and then make them changes. I think especially on a downhill bike as well, it's all about fine-tuning to the course. So I think it's really important. I think it's something that these bikes need to have.
Yeah, I mean, when we go to your tandem, I think especially because it's such a specific application, the way that the weight distribution sits is actually really interesting. Like, I remember you and Chris messing around with the offset of the fork, and you found that it was a game changer. And I think
it made such a huge difference.
Yeah,
huge.
And I think it's really good because, just to account for different riding styles, let alone different proportions. But as a bike to live with, I think it comes with a very generous mudguard, which I think is definitely a good thing. And it actually comes with replaceable threaded inserts for all your hardware. So basically, nothing screws directly into the frame, and they're held in by these little these grub screws, or these inserts. It's built with all the input from Canyon's impressive list of factory races. And I think it looks great. The frame itself is 600 grams lighter than the previous version, and it's even got, racers cable routing in mind. And I actually think it does look like a particularly drool-worthy bike, and I think it looks, like I said, fantastic.
Yeah. It does look good. And like you say, that roster of riders, can it really produce a bad bike? I'm not sure it can. I really don't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But what have we got next? Because I understand that you've got a Mondraker to talk about.
Oh, this Mondraker is crazy. Sort of like the headline is, it's just 775 grams, which is claimed to be the lightest production hardtail in the world. Think it could be. Weights for all the builds going as low as 7.8 kilograms, and the heaviest bike in the range is 9.3 kilograms, which is it's bonkers. Flat mount, brakes compatible as to be expected. It's a 1x drivetrain specific, a 27.2 seat post.
I suppose.
It's a fantastic looking bike, but yeah, those numbers on the weight are something else.
Yeah, I remember when I was got my first, because when I was a teenager, I got a road bike before I got a mountain bike, and I think that road bike, which was my pride and joy, it weighed like 9.5 kilos. So the heaviest one is what that weighs. And I remember thinking that was unbelievably light.
I mean, this is crazy. I mean, the build, for a production bike, 775 grams it doesn't, Yeah, it's just so mad where it's got to in terms of this tech that can bring out a bike, and they can be that trusting in the build that they can put it out there as a production bike. It's pretty incredible. I would love to have a bike that way, just to pick it up every now and again and think,
yeah, right.
That's pretty good.
Because the numbers are pretty healthy too. It comes with for a large, it comes with a reach of 463, which is actually for an XC hardtail. I know we said it, but a couple of years ago that would have been unthinkable, really. The head tube angle at 68.5 is on that kind of, Goldilocks sort of porridge temperature of not too slack for these XC bikes.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really smart looking bike, and Mondraker definitely have they definitely have form of doing stuff outside the book, but to get this 775 gram lightest production frame, I think is certainly pretty cool indeed.
It's a very nice bike, and I think Mondraker are one of those brands as well. They're just bringing out bikes that I don't know, I think they just look so great. And they've again got another great lineup of riders to just be helping them produce the very best bikes. So this one, obviously with the weight in mind, is fabulous, but I'm sure in every other respect it's going to be pretty on point. Yeah,
there's something about Mondraker, they do have that drool-worthy quality. Like they just
definitely
make 1,000 thighs go clammy sort of thing. They're really, really cool. And also we've actually seen some stuff less holistic tech news, but actually talking about some more some smaller aspects of the bike. Bike Yoke have released their new revived 2.0 dropper. Now this is a dropper seat post that comes with 213mm of travel, which is absolutely massive. That's almost 10 centimeters longer than the 125, which was pretty much expected as standard not so long ago. They do this by using one machined piece at the top, plus that means that because the toolage cost of associate and the technology going down through their range, whether you go for a 150 drop, you're still going to benefit from this new method of making it. It still has the release valve, and it has the new Triggy Alpha lever, which naming aside, which is a bit of a mouthful, it does look really, really cool. And I would imagine to be...
I hate that name.
Yeah, it's a bit... Well, it's a bit different. It's recognisable.
Yeah. I'm not mad keen on the name, but I do love that release valve. That's really cool because if you do develop a bit of the technical word is squidge, isn't it? Just a bit of squidge in the dropper there. You can release it and get it back up to perfect working order.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because there are tricks you can do with reverbs where you turn them upside down and you press the button, and it almost seems like about an incantation short of witchcraft because it's like you've got to do things in a certain order, but having it built in from the start, I think it's really cool because it's basically saying, it's better to have something serviceable and admitting that all these highly charged seat posts are at risk of developing play. So why not, or squidge, so why not just tackle it from the offset? But
absolutely.
Also in the seat post game this week, over in the US I saw that the Trans X dropper seat post, which is kind of quite a big OE player, original equipment player, is now offering a post for $99.
Crazy. That is crazy. It's so good though, because a dropper makes, we're forever saying it on GMBN, dropper makes the biggest difference to a bike. That's the one component that can transform your bike, especially if it's a hardtail. It can really help if you've got that XE weapon and you want to make moves into the sort of more modern ways of riding. So a $99 dropper, that's unbelievable, and it's a great idea to stick one of those on your bike.
Yeah, totally. I mean, back in the day, I'm pretty sure it was a pound of flesh. I'm pretty sure, no discounts, but $99. And I think, like you said, for the entry-level market, which is often the people I think that would, really benefit from a dropper, because it's like
100%.
You come to the sport, and then sometimes when you get an entry-level hardtail, it's got a seat post up to, God knows what, and it's quite hard to ride. Compared to...
It can make a massive difference, a dropper, it really can. Can't overstate it. For $99, you just can't go wrong.
Yeah. So now it's time for the tech quiz. Now, Martyn, in the past, you've given me a bit of stick for my high levels of appreciation for Aaron Gwynn. But
I have, it's true.
But nonetheless, this one is for the racing fans. So the first question, Before Intense, YT, Specialized and Trek, which team gave Aaron Gwynn his first taste of World Cup racing? So that's the first question.
That's a good question, actually. I've got question 2. What is Mondraker's almost brand synonymous geometry theory called?
Oh, that is a good question. And the last and final tech quiz question is, what is Canyon's group of riders referred to as? It's their Canyon something. But you'll have to tune in later on to get the answers.
I know that one! Right, it's time for the bike cave, and we have got a great little sort of underground cavern here. Nice selection of bikes. Who's this from, Henry?
This is from Paul in Madison in Wisconsin, and he basically explains that him and his partner have an upstairs apartment and they have to share out a small portion of the basement, but they're really, really making it count. They've just got bikes everywhere.
Yeah, lovely lineup of bikes. Got a great selection of tools on the wall there. I really like that bike stand, Henry. If you look at that bike stand, it almost looks like it's like a set. So they're going to do photo shoots with parts on that bike stand. You know, with like the white wall behind it.
Yeah, I know
Looks
exactly
really
what you mean.
nice.
I tell you what, like, so when I was doing, because I live in an upstairs apartment, sounds similar to you, and when we're doing a lot of filming at home and stuff, my word, did I wish I had a space to use, you know, a bit like this that's well lit, and you know, because they've actually made a really good job. And like you said, they've got that pin board of just, you know, everything they need really. And
it looks really good, and yeah, it was that does look like the perfect lockdown set to me. I could have done with that maybe 2 months ago. Would have made my life a lot easier for sure.
You've got
it's very nice.
You've got a pretty tidy setup now, though. Your bike cave is, I saw on Instagram, I think it was looking in pretty good nick.
Yeah, I've only got a very small space myself, so I've just got a few mementos in there, some things that sort of keep me nice and focused on bikes when I'm in there, which I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I've got some nice, you know, we're lucky to have some cool partners on GMBN, so I've got a nice toolbox, which I've got to be honest, I'm quite proud of. So it's coming on. It's coming on. It's got some nice things in there. Some nice pictures in there, which I quite like.
Yeah, lovely. Just looking at Paul's setup here, and he's got, you know, a well-sized little storage cabinet, which I guess is for all his lubes and spare parts, etc. And actually, the way that he's storing the bikes, not sure how he's got them all lent up exactly. Oh, he posted the front wheel in a little cabinet. But they look really well spaced. They're not going to kind of chew each other up and go cannibalistic on each other, which is definitely a good thing. Seems to be a fan of the fat bike.
Yeah, he's got some, say that, but he's got a pretty cool little courier bike on the wall there with like the ball handlebars as well.
Yeah, totally.
That sort of single speed, is it? Yeah, I mean, it looks...
I think he's got
it's a nice variety of bikes there.
For every eventuality, because he's got, you know, full sussers, like I said, fat bikes, something for the road. Super cool. But guys, if you're sitting at home and you think you've got your own submission to the Bike Cave, please get it in using the upload link below, and hopefully we can peruse over it in an upcoming show. So don't forget to upload it.
Yeah, it's great to see the caves coming in. There's some good ones.
And now it is time for Top Mods. So if, like with the Bike Caves, you think you've got a really good submission, please do get it into us and hopefully we can feature on the show. Now, Martyn, I saw you having a ganders at something that looked slightly less conventional than some bikes out there. What have you got?
Yeah, this is from Andrew. It's his Giant XTC Carbon. It's a 2014. And he's been slowly updating the bike. So he's moved it over to a Lauf fork, and then he's decided, let's take it a step further. And as he's added the mods, he's decided to go into stripping all of that paint off and getting down to the raw frame. And there's a lot of work in that job because you have to go pretty careful. You usually have to just pick it off.
Yeah.
And work your way down to that raw build, which looks really nice. He says this is still his race bike, but you know what? I'd love to have seen the finished build.
Yeah.
What does it look like now?
Yeah,
that's what I want to see.
Totally, because I think it's it's certainly a unique looking bike. First, the Lauf fork, which is, I suppose, very good dependent on the type of riding you're doing because it's very light, and then going down to raw carbon because you can do that with just like a blade like Danger Home does. But
Yeah.
That's kind of...
Is that how he's done it? I think that's how he's done it. I'm not sure. You can still see some paint remaining on just above the bottom bracket there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell, but yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'd find that slightly terrifying, just going full dagger, like pirate mode on a bike frame.
Yeah,
it'd be a
me
bit...
too. What do you think of that allow fork? You've ridden that, right?
Yeah, I had a little pot around. Haven't really ridden it in anger, I would say, and that's something I'd love to do. But it's funny when we talk about, certain elements of how we spring bikes, so whether on leaf springs or and maybe at the back when suspension systems rely on flex. And as cyclists, we tend to somewhat kind of blanch at that, like, oh, what? No, it couldn't possibly work. But then you go and get in your car, which has got big leaf springs, and no one blinks, no one bats an eye.
And it blinks an eyelid, yeah. It's definitely and like you say, for a race bike, that's a good option. It's going to keep it quick.
Yeah, totally. I think with the cross country bikes, like sometimes, imagine doing like if you're riding for that what it's intended for, big epic days or marathon racing or something like that. I imagine it would be very, 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 very much up to the task. But we've actually got a very cool hardtail, another one, slightly more conventional, but equally as noteworthy. So this is, I love this. I call it like paint primer grey. I don't know what the proper thing is, but it is straight out of Finland from Vil. I hope I'm pronouncing it that right. But I think it looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it does look good.
Orange hardcore. It really does look good.
Yeah,
in the primer with the tan walls, and they just really set it off, I think.
Yeah, he's missed a trick with the tan walls because I like to see a tan grip with a tan wall.
Oh, do you? Oh, I never knew.
Just a preference. But I do like that kind of, like I said, I don't know what it's called, gunmetal colour. I don't know. I mean, I nearly picked a car in that colour recently. It's like a gloss undercoat kind of look.
Yeah,
it's a weird, but it's very nice.
Yeah, it looks really, really cool. And interestingly enough, just going through his spec, it's certainly an aggressive XE build. But he's going for the the cush core in the back of like a hardtail, which makes total sense to me. He explains
it does.
186 centimeters tall and 91 kilograms. It definitely, it's one less thing to think about, I suppose. But yeah,
that's actually a really good idea. Actually, you sort of think about cush core as, kind of like a downhiller's product, but it does make total sense in a hardtail, doesn't it? It's great thinking. I like that.
Yeah, no, it looks really, really good, eh? But that is it for this week's Top Mods. So if you've got your own submission, please do get them in. And like I said, you can have me and Martyn talking about them next week. This week for Rewind, we have something kind of a bit different, but I hope and think you'll appreciate it. So, a bike shop in Queenstown, New Zealand, and one that actually employed gubbins over here a few years ago, Vertigo Bikes, have been collecting something of a museum for the last couple of years. It started off with just riders' jerseys, and then it got to bikes, and then it became everyone clubbed in. Well, a couple of guys clubbed in and bought an Azonic downhill bike, and it became this.
Oh, cool.
It just started snowballing, and now they decided to get some proper photos taken of some, but not anywhere near all the bits in their museum. And I mean, some of these must be a trip down memory lane for you, Martyn.
Oh, I love it, man. I mean, look at this RTS. Oh, it's just so cool. I mean, I'm looking at that bike and I'm just seeing Rob Warner in his kind of rookie year of downhill racing on that bike. It's so cool. He was riding. I think he rode Mont Saint Anne on that bike and got a really great result. And that was something that really sort of sprungboarded him into the international scene. Yeah. Obviously, some other very famous riders have ridden them bikes, but it just looks lovely. And that one looks particularly fantastic.
Yeah, right.
I got a Sun Radical there. Oh my goodness me!
And apparently
that is cool.
Apparently that bike was really ahead of its time. I've heard that Burrell once he went to Kona next, and he said it took them a lot, like years, to get the back end working as effectively as it did on that Radical. Yeah,
I mean those bikes. I mean Sun were always a little jump ahead, really cool. These Rissy Champ forks, I'm not too up on those ones. I'm not sure where I recognise them, but I'm not sure where I would have seen them.
Yeah, it looks like just in the blurb there, what Pang, who runs the shop, has written is that, like, Pang, the thing is, he is known as the huck wizard. He just loves hucking. He doesn't have he doesn't have any. That's his priority. It's all about hucking, and I imagine that when he kind of was younger, he probably lusted after a fork that could give 9 inches of travel, because he's also got this amazing Talifer downhill bike there, which was actually the one that he raced in World Cups many years ago. And I'll try and get a picture, although we don't have it right now. And he found the very bike, and he got his friend to fly it over for him. But interestingly enough, it's like, I think it's got like a 1.5 something rear end. It's so far ahead of the curve. You know, and
it's so crazy. It's a crazy looking fork. And what about this? Look, Intense M1.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know
well, look at this. There's a fork. How many races were won on one of these, but repainted, not as an Intense? So, I'd like to know that actually. I wonder if Doddy knows the answer to that. How many World Cups hasn't it? And has it ever won as an Intense? I don't know.
Yeah, true.
If you do know that, the comment section down below is where that's for. Let us know. Did Intense M1 ever win in its own name?
Yeah. But we've got loads of stuff.
Good question. Some great bikes, man. Some wicked bikes at that shop.
And the last one, that Giant ATX, which I believe was actually Vanessa Quinn's own bike. And she was, I don't know what year, but the world champion back in the day, and kind of a real big star of the sport. And, you know, I love the down tube of those Giants. I just think it just looks rad, you know?
Oh, it's great. I mean, and hey, we're ending where we started. I can see Rob Warner with his giant long legs straddled over one of them too. He had some good rides on that bike. So yeah, it's there's some blast from the past in Vertigo bikes. Very nice. I like that museum. Love it.
For sure. So guys, if you do have your own submission, maybe it's not quite as a complete a collection as this, but please do get them in, and we can ogle and gander about them for as long as we like. Thanks guys.
Absolutely. And make sure you check out at Vertigo_bikes_Queenstown on Instagram, because they have got some amazing stuff, as you can see in those cool photos.
So now it is time for the quiz answers. So this first one was about a very special man, Mr. Aaron Gwynn, who is undoubtedly, I think we can agree, Martyn, the best ever, right?
No, we won't be able to agree on that, but he's very good. Don't get me wrong.
Very good.
Very good.
So
he's very, very good.
Yeti actually gave him his first taste of downhill World Cup racing.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
And actually, it was only 8 months after he'd ridden a mountain bike for the first time. Which is mad.
Oh, you know what though? I always think when people say things like that, you know, that they got into a sport and they were so good after only having ridden. What did he do in the 8 months and the rest of his life before that time?
He was a national BMX champion and professional motocross rider.
Surprise.
But don't dampen it. That's a special moment for me and Aaron and all the other super fans out there. You know, he's probably watching at home right now, and I'm establishing a bond by throwing in those little nuggets.
Yeah, you're right. But I tell you what, he's a really nice guy. That's one thing he is, a very nice guy. I've met him actually. And fantastic rider. I didn't know he'd ridden a Yeti. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Right, now I asked you about Mondraker's terminology for their geometry. Of course, it is the forward geometry.
Yeah. Which kind of...
Did you know that, Henry?
I did. Not to draw too much suspense, but they're very famous for it. And I think a lot of our modern geometry theories and the way we do things definitely has a lot to thank Mondraker for. And
so that is basically the longer, slacker kind of vein, is it?
Yeah,
is that what that means?
Essentially, I mean, a lot of it was about, taking some of the length off the stem and moving it behind the steering axis to increase the length of your top tubes and your reach, etc. And I think it seems like one of those things that there was a lot of people, a lot of good minds in the right place in the right time. Not only to have the design team, but also you had the riders like Fabien Barel, who was fanatical about setup, and he was himself at one point under the tutelage of Nico Vuglio and that Sun team we mentioned earlier on. And so I think it was just an amalgamation of many great minds coming together to kind of have a very fresh approach. I think it was just like I said, I think we still got stuff to be thankful for.
That is quite a bunch of mines, actually, isn't it? Burrell and Vullios.
Yeah.
All coming up with basically what we're all riding now.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty cool.
And the last
right,
question.
I know the answer to this last one, but go on.
No, well, go on. So I'll give the question again. The name of the... Oh, no, I nearly just said it.
You've given it away.
Of Canyon
You've
riders.
given it away.
What was it?
Well, okay, so Canyon's group of riders, it is, of course, the Canyon Collective. So it spans across disciplines. Obviously, it includes the Seagraves, but also your people like Fabio Widmer and all the other riders in that nice bunch that basically all come in to create the collective.
Yeah.
Many disciplines in one little pot.
Many disciplines,
cool.
not many vowels. That's I believe that's their slogan. But that is it for this week's GMBN Tech Show. Thank you very much for coming on, Martyn. It's been great to have you.
Mate, thank you for having me. I love it. I love going through all that tech stuff, and I would love to come back anytime. It's awesome.
Lovely. And thank you very much for watching at home. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel, and get in the comments below. How did you get on with this week's mountain bike tech quiz? And is indeed Aaron Gwyn the greatest of all time? Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Did that Intense ever win a World Cup?
Oh, yeah, don't forget the Intense question.